It was a Tuesday night, 8:47 p.m., and the exhaustion of the workday felt like a physical weight pressing me into the hardwood floor. Client presentations, budget forecasts, endless spreadsheets, a financial analyst's life remotely managed from my small Raleigh apartment. All I wanted was silence and the promise of a mediocre microwave dinner. My keys slipped from my hand just as the phone screamed at me. It was Lorraine, my mother. Her voice, when I answered, was entirely stripped of warmth, flat, like she was reading a corporate severance letter. "Your father and I have decided. Marigold is moving back to Chapel Hill. We need you out of the house by the weekend. That historic tutor is hers now." The keys, when they finally hit the floor, sounded like tiny bells announcing the death of my future. I gripped the doorframe, leaning into the cool metal, convinced I hadn't heard English correctly. "I'm sorry, what?" Lorraine's tone sharpened instantly with that familiar, impatient edge she reserved for any challenge to her absolute authority. "You heard me correctly, PB. Marigold needs stability, a place to start her family. You work remotely, you can live anywhere. Don't be selfish." Don't be selfish. That phrase, their ultimate weapon, struck me dead center. I heard my father, Victor, murmur some half-hearted agreement in the background, a pathetic surrender of his own marital life. The man who taught me to invest wisely, reduced to a rubber stamp in his own marital life. 72 hours, Mom continued, her voice now coldly professional. "We'll arrange for supervised removal of your belongings. Nothing belongs to you except your personal items and work equipment." The line went dead. I stood there, phone pressed to my ear, watching her name glow on the screen, wishing it would morph into someone who hadn't just tried to erase 6 years of my life with a casual Tuesday night phone call. I remembered walking into their kitchen at 22, diploma in hand, ready to celebrate graduating summa cum laude. "Good, spend," Lorraine had said, barely looking up from her tablet. "Now you can get a job and help with the bills." A week later, Marigold, 19 and reckless, totaled their sedan after a party near Duke. I'd expected consequences, maybe lectures about accountability. Instead, Dad's worried sighs and immediate plans to buy a safer, newer vehicle, funded by their increasingly desperate finances, while I handed over half my first real paycheck for family expenses. That was the pattern, always. Phoebe the workhorse, Marigold the delicate flower, who required constant financial protection from the consequences of her choices. 6 years ago, they came to me weeping about the roof collapsing, the busted plumbing, the property taxes they couldn't cover. "We hate to ask," Dad had said, tears in his eyes, "but could you move back home temporarily? Just until we get back on our feet." Temporary turned into a permanent 6-year drain. My savings systematically liquidated, over $105,000 invested in a new roof, a complete kitchen renovation, and updated HVAC. I transformed that rotting historic tutor into something beautiful, something valuable, something worthy of Chapel Hill. Meanwhile, Mary posted photos from Miami, European trips, designer shopping sprees. When asked for help with bills, she'd laugh it off. "Oh, Phoebe, you're so good at that stuff. I don't know anything about mortgages." Good at that stuff. As if financial responsibility were some cute hobby, not a basic requirement for adult survival. My phone buzzed. Marigold's name flashing across the screen before I could even process the call from my mother. "Hey, Phoebe." Her voice was bubbly, triumphant. "Big news. I'm coming home. Can you make sure my old room is cleared out by Friday? I need space for Brad, my fiancé. And hey, just leave the big curved TV in the living room, okay? I love that one." The 65-inch television I bought last Black Friday after saving for months. The one I researched meticulously because every single dollar mattered. Blood drained from my face, and the room spun slightly. "We'll talk when you get here, Mary." My voice was eerily controlled. "Perfect. See you Friday." She hung up before I could object. I slid down the doorframe until I was sitting on the cold floor, keys scattered beside me. 6 years of sacrifice, turning down promotions that required relocation, avoiding serious relationships because family needed me. And now, I was being discarded because Mari decided she wanted to play house and my investment. My fingers automatically searched for Dana Reyes, my college best friend and the sharpest real estate attorney in Eastern NC. Phoebe? What's wrong? Dana's voice was instantly alert. My parents just gave me 72 hours to move out of the tutor. They're giving it to Mari. Silence. Then, the house you've been restoring? All of it. 6 years, $105,000 of my own money, gone. Wait, your grandmother, Iris. How exactly did your parents inherit that house? Was it a will? A trust? I realized I didn't actually know. Family finances were always shrouded in vague, adult business language. I don't know, I admitted. Do not talk to them. Do not text Mari. Send me every single piece of paper you have. Insurance documents, utility bills, maintenance receipts. I'm going to the county records office first thing tomorrow morning. For the first time since the call, a tiny spark of hope flickered. Dana, what if they're right? What if I'm just being selfish? A beat of silence. Then, her voice, steel strong. Phoebe, selfish people don't sacrifice 6 years of their lives to pay off other people's debts. Send me those documents. We're going to figure this out. Wednesday morning sunlight filtered weakly through my apartment blinds, offering no comfort for the internal devastation I felt. I'd been awake since 4 a.m. replaying Lorraine's clinical tone when she decreed the end of my life at the tutor. My coffee tasted like ash, but I drank it anyway while systematically organizing every document related to that house. Insurance papers, 3 years of utility bills, every single receipt for the new kitchen cabinets and the upgraded HVAC system. The folder grew thick with evidence of a life they claimed was never mine. Dana called precisely at 9:15 a.m. Phoebe, there's a problem. Her voice was tight with professional frustration. Your parents, acting as trustees, filed to seal portions of grandmother Iris's trust documents right after she passed, citing family privacy. They are actively hiding something. The word sealed hit me hard. Why would they seal anything? Because whatever's in those documents doesn't support their version of events, Phoebe. People don't hide good news. They're covering something up. It's going to take me 24 hours to get a judge's order to unseal it. I spent 2 agonizing days pacing my apartment. My laptop sat open, displaying a half-finished financial model that now seemed utterly meaningless. How was I supposed to calculate variances and future projections when my entire past was a confirmed lie? A memory surfaced unbidden. Grandmother Iris 3 years ago, during what would be her last Christmas. Clutching my wrist with surprising strength. That woman sees dollar signs, not family, sweetheart, she whispered, glancing toward the kitchen where Lorraine was complaining about the cost of holiday groceries. I dismissed it then. Iris was 91, and her comments about Lorraine had grown sharper. I thought it was just age, making her cranky about her daughter-in-law. Now, Iris's words carried the weight of prophecy. She had watched Lorraine for decades, seeing patterns I was too close and too loyal to recognize. Iris had always insisted I learn basic home maintenance, how to fix a leaky faucet, how to check the water heater. Independence isn't just about having your own place, she told me. It's about not needing anyone to take care of you. Had she known this day would come? Had she been preparing me for this financial and emotional war? Thursday morning felt like a sentencing. I'd barely slept, my mind oscillating between panic and cold resolve. Maybe the documents would confirm my parents' story. Maybe I really was the ungrateful daughter who needed to step aside for Mari's happiness. But the clarity I'd learned in my job, that you never trust unaudited numbers, had taken root. If they were innocent, why seal the documents? Why hide behind privacy claims? My phone rang at 10:30 a.m. Dana's name. I grabbed the kitchen counter, bracing myself. I got it, she said. her voice shaking with quiet fury. "Phoebe, they have been lying to you for 6 years. You own that house." The room spun violently. "What?" Iris didn't trust Lorraine. She placed the tutor in a living trust. Victor and Lorraine were named trustees with the right to reside there, but the trust explicitly states that on your 32nd birthday, 2 years ago, full, unencumbered ownership transferred automatically to you alone. My legs gave out and I slid down the cabinet door. "I've owned it for 2 years and they've been living on my property?" "Yes, and that $105,000 debt they needed help with, that was a home equity line of credit they took out after your 32nd birthday. They borrowed money against your asset, an asset they didn't control, and they made you pay it back." The magnitude of the betrayal hit me like a physical blow, not just lying about ownership. They committed bank fraud while forcing me to fund their crime. Every single monthly payment I had made toward that debt was money stolen from my pocket to pay for their theft. "I'm not the ungrateful daughter," I whispered. "You are the victim of systematic theft," Dana said firmly, "and we are going to make this right. You are the legal owner. Do not move a single pillow. It's your house. Defend it." The last vestige of guilt evaporated, replaced by crystalline, bone-deep fury. I was the target of a carefully orchestrated con. What do we do? "I'm canceling my afternoon appointments. We're going to war." Within the hour, Dana had mobilized. A 24-hour locksmith was contacted for emergency key changes, legal documents drafted, eviction notice, restraining order templates, and a bank fraud report prepared with the HELOC documentation attached. "The locks get changed this afternoon while they're out," Dana explained, spreading papers across her conference table. "Then we will deliver the eviction notice tomorrow when Mari arrives. Clean, legal, and impossible to argue with." That afternoon, I drove to the tutor. My hands shook, not from fear, but pure concentrated adrenaline. The locksmith van followed me. The house, freshly painted white siding and gardens I'd meticulously maintained, looked exactly the same. But walking through the rooms felt entirely different. This wasn't their house I was helping to maintain. This was my house they had been occupying while lying to my face. The kitchen where I installed the shaker cabinets and granite countertops, my kitchen. The living room with the refinished hardwood floors, my living room. The 65-inch television Mari wanted to claim, bought with my money, installed in my house. Everything belonged to me. I gathered only my essentials: laptop, documents, photos of Iris. The expensive furniture, the appliances, everything stayed, secured inside my property. 3 hours later, every single lock was changed. New deadbolts, new window locks, and new codes for the garage door. The locksmith handed me a complete set of keys that felt heavier than gold. "Property's secure, ma'am. No one's getting in without these." I stood in my kitchen, holding the keys to my house, feeling the weight of 6 years of manipulation finally lift. Tomorrow, when Mari arrived expecting to claim her prize, she would find locked doors and legal papers explaining exactly who owned what. My phone buzzed with a text from Dana. "Documents filed. Tomorrow, we take back what was always yours." For the first time in years, I smiled without guilt. Friday morning arrived with Marigold's Instagram story blazing across my phone screen. An airport selfie, bright smile, carefully arranged designer luggage, the caption screaming, "Chapel Hill, new beginnings, home again." The hashtags felt like tiny, entitled daggers. I screenshotted everything, just in case. Evidence. Dana taught me that yesterday. Document every lie, every manipulation, every moment of their entitlement. Build the case methodically. My phone exploded at 11:23 a.m. "Phoebe, what the hell?" Marigold's voice was piercing, frantic. "I can't get in. A key doesn't work. Did you change the locks?" I took a steady breath, counted to 3. Yesterday, this call would have sent me into a spiral of panic and apologies. Today felt clear, cold. The locks were changed for security reasons. Security reasons? It's my house now, Phoebe. You can't lock me out of my own home. Her own home. The house she never contributed a single dollar toward. The house she abandoned 6 years ago without a backward glance. We'll discuss this when I arrive, Mari. The line went dead. Immediately, my voicemail notification chimed. Lorraine's voice shaking with barely contained fury. How dare you lock us out of our own home? This is elder abuse, Phoebe. We'll have you arrested for this. You've lost your mind. Another message. Victor's guilt-soaked whisper. Your mother is having chest pains from the stress you're causing. Is this really what you want? Your grandmother Iris would be ashamed. Grandmother's shame? Their most reliable weapon. But something had fundamentally shifted inside me since Dana read me those trust documents. Grandmother Iris wasn't ashamed. She was the one who had protected me. I called Dana, putting her on speaker while I organized the evidence folder one final time. Police reports, trust documents, bank statements, screenshots. Everything chronological, everything ready. You sound different, Dana observed. Stronger. I feel different. Like I'm finally awake after 6 years of sleepwalking. The police are meeting us at the house in 30 minutes. Civil standby, just like we discussed. They'll keep everyone calm while we serve the eviction notice. For the first time in my adult life, I wasn't the one trying to keep everyone calm. I was the one setting the boundaries that required enforcement. The drive to the tutor felt surreal. My hands remained steady on the steering wheel. No tears, no guilt spirals about family loyalty. Just calm determination and a folder of legal documents that spoke the truth my parents had hidden for 2 years. I turned onto the street and saw them immediately. All three clustered on the front lawn like desperate refugees. Victor pounding futilely on the front door. Lorraine pacing frantically. Marigold standing with her arms crossed, her designer luggage scattered around her feet like evidence of her prematurely celebrated victory. Miss Perkins, the retired schoolteacher across the street, watched intently from her porch, phone in hand. Good, let her film it. I parked at the curb, and Dana's sedan pulled up behind me just as 2 Chapel Hill patrol cars arrived. Ma'am, Officer Davis approached me first. You're the homeowner? Yes, Phoebe Thorne. These individuals are attempting to enter my property without permission. Lorraine whipped around, her face flushed crimson with indignation. She's lying. We live here. She's having some kind of breakdown and changed our locks. Ma'am, step back, please. Officer Davis moved between us smoothly, professionally. We'll sort this out. Dana emerged from her car carrying her leather briefcase, looking like a general dressed for legal battle. Mr. and Mrs. Thorne, this is a formal eviction notice. You have 24 hours to arrange for supervised removal of your personal belongings. You are no longer permitted on this property. Victor sputtered, his face cycling through confusion, disbelief, and dawning panic. You can't do this. We're her parents. This is Phoebe Thorne's house, per the Irish Thorne Living Trust, a trust you violated when you fraudulently obtained a $105,000 home equity loan against property you did not own. The number hit them like a physical blow. Marigold's face drained of all color, her Instagram-ready composure crumbling instantly. A HELOC? A trust? You told me the house was yours. You said Grandma left it to you. Marigold, calm down, Lorraine snapped, but her authority was evaporating under the weight of Dana's measured words. This is a misunderstanding. No, Marigold's voice cracked into hysteria. This isn't a misunderstanding. You lied to me about everything. Miss Perkins' phone remained pointed squarely in our direction, capturing every frame of the public disintegration. Lorraine finally noticed and stormed toward her. Stop recording. This is a private family matter. Ma'am, you need to remain on the public sidewalk. A different officer smoothly intercepted Lorraine. The contrast was stark. Lorraine, unhinged and screaming about privacy. Victor, deflated and murmuring pathetic excuses. Marigold, discovering her entire future was a lie. And me, standing quietly beside my attorney and 2 police officers, every document legal, every action justified. Dana handed Victor a manila envelope. Police report for attempted trespassing. Bank fraud report filed with local and federal authorities. Your attorney can contact my office to arrange belongings removal. This is insane, Lorraine hissed, but the venom was gone, replaced with desperation. She's manipulating you all. Phoebe's always been unstable. Officer Davis checked his notes. Ma'am, according to the legal documents, this property belongs to Phoebe Thorne, as of 2 years ago. The individuals attempting entry have no legal standing. The words settled over the scene like concrete. No legal standing. After 6 years of emotional manipulation and financial exploitation, the truth finally had an official, undeniable voice. Marigold stared at her luggage scattered across the lawn, the afternoon light catching her new engagement ring. My fiancé is flying in tonight? What am I supposed to tell him? Tell him the truth, for once. They dispersed slowly. Victor loaded Mary's suitcases into their car, moving mechanically, like a man sleepwalking through a nightmare. Honey, I got every second of that. That evening, sitting in my apartment with Thai takeout and legal paperwork spread across the coffee table, I finally allowed myself to process the weight of what happened. I didn't grieve for the loss of my parents. That relationship died the moment Lorraine delivered the 72-hour ultimatum. I grieved for the 6 years stolen through their systematic manipulation, for the woman I was before I learned to doubt my own worth, for the opportunities I declined because family needed me. I opened my journal and wrote, I was never the problem. I was only the solution to their problem. Dana called at 9:30 p.m., her voice warm with satisfaction. Federal banking regulators confirmed they're investigating the ELOC fraud. Criminal charges are possible. What happens next? I asked. That's up to you. We can pursue maximum legal consequences, or we can negotiate a settlement that gets you out quickly and cleanly. The choice is entirely yours. For the first time in 6 years, the power sat squarely in my hands. No manipulation, no guilt, just legal documents and righteous anger, and the freedom to choose my own future. My doorbell rang at 10 p.m. It was Miss Perkins, holding a plate of homemade cookies, her eyes bright with excitement. Honey, I thought you should know. I've been posting that video everywhere. Facebook, neighborhood groups, Nextdoor. Your mother has been calling my house for 3 hours, begging me to take it down. She says it's going to ruin them. She handed me the cookies with a conspiratorial smile. Sometimes the truth needs a little help spreading around. I watched through my window as Miss Perkins' porch light illuminated her phone screen, still sharing the video. Public accountability had begun organically. Social media justice was delivering the consequences my parents spent years avoiding. Tomorrow, I would decide the final strategy, but tonight, I ate Miss Perkins' cookies and watched my family's lies crumble. 3 weeks passed like a slow-motion chess match. While my parents frantically tried to rebuild their narrative, I organized my evidence with the methodical precision of a financial analyst. Every receipt dated and labeled, every screenshot preserved. Lorraine and Victor's desperation culminated in a call from Victor, his voice frail. Phoebe, your mother is having chest pain from the stress. We think we can contest the trust for undue influence. We hired a lawyer. I didn't flinch. I'll have my attorney contact him directly. Within an hour, Dana called back, laughing. The lawyer withdrew. I sent him our evidence package, documented mental competency of Iris, the trust creation date 4 years before you moved in, and the federal bank fraud report. He advised them that pursuing litigation would guarantee criminal prosecution and massive legal fees. So it's over? I asked, sinking into my chair, relieved by Dana's thoroughness. Not quite. It's time for you to make them an offer they can't resist. 2 days later, we met in Dana's deliberately formal conference room. Victor and Lorraine arrived late, looking smaller, aged by 3 weeks of public humiliation. Marigold was nowhere to be seen.
Miss Perkins' network reported her fiancé had broken up with her after seeing the public meltdown video, and she had flown back to Austin. Dana slid the settlement agreement across the table. "Outrageous," Lorraine said, scanning the terms. "You want us to pay you $105,000? Reimbursement for the ELOC fraud, the money you borrowed against my house and made me repay." "And this no-contact clause," Victor added, his voice breaking. "Permanent estrangement from our daughter?" "A consequence of your choices," Dana explained. "The alternative is criminal prosecution for bank fraud and continued civil litigation. Your legal costs alone will exceed $200,000. I watched them process their complete powerlessness. They couldn't manipulate, guilt, or bulldoze their way through the legal system. Victor signed first, his hand visibly shaking. Lorraine held out longer, but the sight of Dana's open evidence folder, proof of their crimes, broke her resolve. She signed. "One more thing," I said, as they prepared to leave. "The house sells next month. When the sale closes, you'll receive a check for your portion after the $105,000 reimbursement is deducted." "Our portion?" Lorraine asked, confused. $0, I clarified. "But I wanted you to see the final number, what you lost by trying to steal from me." They left without a word, walking slowly, looking like people who had aged a decade in a single month.
6 months later, I signed the final paperwork in Dana's office. The Tudor sold for $320,000. After fees and closing costs, $285,000 sat in my checking account, money that belonged entirely to me. My new apartment lease felt like a declaration of independence. 2 bedrooms, a view of the city, and no constant reminder of 6 years spent as someone else's solution. "How does it feel?" Dana asked. "Quiet," I said, and it was the perfect word. My mind was finally quiet. That Friday evening, I hosted my first small dinner party. Dana brought the wine. Miss Perkins shuffled through the door carrying her famous chocolate chip cookies. We ate takeout and laughed. Nobody mentioned the Thorne family drama. Miss Perkins showed me her phone. The viral video was still generating comments, connecting strangers who had also experienced family financial manipulation. "You started something bigger than you know," she said. "I didn't start anything," I replied, watching the city lights flicker outside my window. "I just stopped accepting the unacceptable." I poured a glass of wine and opened my journal for the final entry on the subject. I spent 34 years confusing love with sacrifice. Real love respects boundaries. I thought family meant obligation. Grandmother Iris taught me family means protection, protecting each other's dignity and autonomy. My phone stayed silent. No emergency calls about family crises requiring my immediate financial intervention. No guilt-laden voicemails, just silence and sunlight, and the profound satisfaction of a life finally lived on my own terms. I am free.